Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. I cannot wait to dive in to all of the pearls of wisdom that I'm about to share here. And it's really me being vulnerable and just sharing what's in my brain about social media. Because I've been doing a little bit of studying. Because when I know I shouldn't be playing the comparison-itis game and all that. But if I'm making comparisons to some people's strategies and my people's strategies, I'm like, what gives, man? And so I'm like, we got to do a little bit better here. We got to put a little bit more of an effort because, frankly, I was putting more of an effort on social media. And then I just saw social media as a way to repurpose content. And while it's great because it kind of serves as my little billboard for things that are happening in my world and all that, that is not what produces results on social media. Spoiler. So before we get into all my thoughts, all my takeaways, kind of like the studying that I've been doing this past month, more like this past 2 weeks, to be like, what is the difference between X and between Y? I would love to give a huge shout out to one of my amazing partners, Lisa Watson of Find Travel, FYND Travel. It is a directory of resources for the travel industry. So you can find fam trips on here. You can find different events. You can find different podcasts like the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur, because yes, I am listed over there. But coming after Asta Travel Advisor Conference, she has been she's received this amazing honor. So I just had to shout her out. I believe it is the ASTA Partner Medal of Excellence. She won that this past year. That was a write-in award. So thank you for everybody who voted for Lisa. If you haven't checked out Find Travel, make sure that you go do so. I'll go ahead and link it up below, but I just had to shout Lisa out, give her a really big congratulations, because she does a lot of hard work within the industry. And I'm one of those that I love seeing amazing people who are doing great things in the industry win. So being able to share that with you and share that, put that out there and more people using the platform, I hope that you will do so, because it is a really great platform to learn a lot of different things, like different conferences, niche conferences and events to help you grow your business, different supplier partners, just different resources. There's lots of things there. So make sure to check that out. So I had to give a little bit before we get started on this episode. So, and it's not only social media that I'm changing. I'm kind of building a new marketing sales funnel for something, but I'm not going to spill the beans yet. I kind of want it to flutter and get wings before I start talking about it, because I want to see how certain things when it comes to SEO and all that works. So, stay tuned to that. But what are kind of some of the big things that I'm noticing out on these social media streets? And what are some of the things that I'll be changing in my own plan? This is going to be a little bit scattered, but I'm just going to give you kind of the biggest observations that I've noticed. I think the biggest observation that I've noticed myself is that you need a bigger runway. So you can't just say, I've got this to sell, buy it. And this goes across, it's not just my business, but it's also your business, your travel business. You can't just say like, I had this really great offer for this. I have this really great offer for this. I'm selling this and that. You have to be more intentional because the buyer today has their own spidey senses. I mean, I have my own spidey senses, but the buyer today has their own spidey senses. The buyer today, depending on what type of buyer they are, sometimes they're a little bit uncertain if they even want to go on a trip. Sometimes they're uncertain if that's a feasible thing for them. Sometimes like the trip that they may have taken, they're not taking it anymore. So it's no longer good to be just, ta-da, I got this, come buy it. You've got to give yourself a runway. And this is not just even in the travel space. Like I was hearing a breakdown of an expert's launch recently, and she gave herself a 90-day runway. There's a couple things that I'm gonna try and do a 60-day runway because my normal runway was 3 weeks. So pretty much like 21 days. And that was not enough for a couple different things that I've kind of put out there. And even like the ones that I have had a longer runway with, I need to be more strategic and intentional because it's no longer just enough for you to say like, I'm a travel expert. How many other people are saying the same thing about you? So I'm going to go back and forth between like how you can use this information and like how I'm using this information. So kind of bear with me on there. But I think that's the biggest thing is that you need a longer runway and you need to be consistent. You can't be ghosting your people. You have to be showcasing your expertise when it comes to marketing on social media and what's going to work for marketing on social media. The other thing that kind of comes with this is that you can't be safe. You gotta be stop being safe. Like I see so many people's posts that are so generic, and not only are they generic, it's like every post you're asking for people to work with you and buy your services as a travel advisor. You've got to stop doing that. Like nobody wants to buy from the person who is always asking to buy, especially when it comes to social media. You've got to provide so much value on social media, and you've got to be really consistent with it. So that's like, I have the word safe with a big X in it, because I think like that's what the problem is when I'm looking at social media marketing and social media, travel advisors doing social media marketing, is that you are playing it too safe, too not specific. You're not... This is kind of like a gruesome, but it's like you are not cutting yourself open and showing yourself to people. I don't want to be like too gruesome, but you're not showing who you are. You're not showing your stuff. You are being afraid of showing yourself. You might not think that, but that's what the content says. And that's kind of what I feel like my content has said about me. I'm not afraid because I'm always talking to you guys about all these different things, but I was not on social media putting myself out there. And that is the biggest thing that I'm noticing on social media is that just bear it. Bear everything. Be messy. Be honest. Be truthful. Give me the nitty gritty. I'm going to tell you the ins and outs of everything. Whatever you don't feel safe or secure putting on social media, that's what probably needs to come out there. And I'm not saying like anything to be dangerous. Like we're not putting personal information like addresses or things and all that out there. I'm just saying the knowledge in your head, you've got to figure out how to convey it on social media. And that's like When I'm thinking about my word unapologetic, you are about to see unapologetic Rita on social media. You probably have seen unapologetic Rita on social media. How I'm also looking at social media is that I'm creating when I feel like creating. That doesn't mean that I'm taking like big lapses from creating content for social media. This just means like I'm not going to put myself on a rigid schedule. If there's something that I think you should need to hear, if I think that there's something that's going to be important to hear, I'm going to put that out there. And I feel like you should also come at social media from the same way. Like, don't be posting on Wednesday because you said you were always going to make a post on Wednesday. I don't want you to like do that. I want you to post on Wednesday because you have this amazing information that you have to give to your audience about this travel experience. Because that is the other big thing, is that specific and safe are synonyms when we're talking about this right now. Specific content is the one that is going to set you apart. So when you're talking about like generic packing checklists, when you're talking about like generic, like, woohoo, you did it. That's not working. Like, I'm starting to roll my eyes at that type of content myself. You need to get into the nitty gritty. So like when you see my content, my content really was being a billboard for the podcast. And you're still going to see content like that because sometimes you don't listen to the podcast or like keep up with the podcast app. So you need to like see what's happening on the podcast. So I share that. But it needs to be more than that, because when we're talking about billboard type of content, like, hey, look at me, I got something to do, got something to sell, something new around here. That does not elicit what the algorithm wants to eat. The algorithm eats on shares and saves. So what kind of content are you going to put out there that elicits shares and save? That is specific content, because people are just going to pass and roll over your generic content if you are not giving them the specifics of why Virgin Voyages is better than Royal Caribbean, why river cruising is going to break all the different stereotypes that you have to like what you thought river cruising was 10 years ago. If like, and I'm trying to give you like some specific examples to help you out. Like, we've got to stop being safe. Here is my booster call to everybody. You've got to stop being safe and start being a little bit more vulnerable, because that is one of the content pieces that actually I've tested out and it's been doing really great for me on social media recently. So I'm taking a look at my notes. So longer runway, consistency, stop being safe, specific, not generic. Don't be a billboard. What is that content that is going to garner shares and saves? Because I say algorithm too, and the algorithm always changes. But you know, there is another algorithm, and I had this aha moment in one of the marketing business school calls that we recently had. The true algorithm that you need to keep up with is how helpful your content is being to your audience. So like recently this week, I put out a piece of content that like I just felt it in my bones. I felt like I needed to share it. I was like, I'm not sure if this is going to hit or not. And it didn't hit. So I'm kind of like I'm starting to see like as I'm experimenting a little bit more, okay, this is hitting, this is not hitting. So again, being a little bit more specific, calling things out, saying like exactly what you feel. And if you've been following me on Instagram, you probably see like the differences that I'm making, because I'm talking a lot more about cruise marketing, because in full transparency, that is the main product that I want to be selling. I was just telling a friend yesterday, I want to get to the point where my business is boring. And I say that not like out of spite or anything. I say that because I want it to be predictable. I don't want to always be creating the same things over and over again. So if I can focus on selling one product, selling that really well, and this is going to help you for your own travel agency, what is that one product that you would love to sell day in and day out? Figure out what that is. That is what you need to be talking about on your social media all the time. Do not talk about, like, if you're a romance travel specialist, stop talking about family travel. Stop talking about anything that is not romance focused. If you're not talking about like tips to enhance like your couple's relationship, special date night ideas, if you're not talking about like how you can help your partner prepare for a trip or something like that, if it's not anything related to couples, stop talking about it. That is no longer on your feed. You need to be known and recognized for one thing. And that one thing for me is going to be cruise marketing. Do I do other things? You know I do, because what's coming up? We got Prep for Wave Weeks coming up, Travel Industry Black Friday is coming up, but I am going to be known as the cruise marketing person because I do really, really great with them. I've not only worked with small businesses, but I've also worked with the different brands to help sell and market the different brands. So I know my stuff. For whatever reason, I have not been, comfortable is not even the word. Maybe it's I've not had the audacity to put that as the forefront. That's probably the better word. And now, especially having come off of a cruise, I have all the audacity. And not only that, now that I know like this is the one thing that I'm going to be talking about, so many ideas are coming to the forefront for me because I've been able to put those blinders on. If you look at Take the Helm on Instagram, back in the original days, I did talk a little bit about like just general marketing type stuff, but I also talked about general business stuff. And we talk a lot about that here on the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur podcast. Like we dabble in a lot of different topics. We have a lot of guest speakers who dabble in a lot of different topics as well. Because really this podcast is to showcase and to get you thinking like a business owner and how business owners would run an actual business and not a hobby side hustle thing. We don't do that around here. And so putting that muscle forward too, because like for me, I also have to think like I don't have a superhero coming in to swoop and save the day for me. My income is reliant on my sales, my services. I giggle. I'm like, nobody is coming to save me. If I'm not making sales in my business, I need to be the one that saves me. I don't have a full-time income. My business is my full-time income. So if I'm not making sales, if people aren't talking about me, if people aren't sharing my things, something is wrong. And I think that's the point to where I've gotten to that we have got to, I feel like I'm back in 2019. I've mastered certain skills when it comes to building relationships. Now it's time to start honing in back on digital marketing, which I loved back in that period also. But then things kept changing and I'm like, I don't get this. What's going on? What's going on is that people want content that is actually going to help. They want to know actual experiences that you have had. And so I am honing in on my social media, but this is also important takeaways for you in your travel agency. That fluffy information that, oh my gosh, you can see castles from a river cruise. We've got to dig deeper than that. Like I was hosting a masterclass earlier today and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are really brilliant ideas that I'm coming up with, where I gave the example of if you attend like salsa dancing classes and you were the studio that you took salsa dancing classes from, if you were to do a joint venture partnership, just thinking about salsa dancing lesson classes. Like, there's so much potential. Like, you've narrowed it down so there's a spotlight on this one thing. So now you've opened up the possibilities of what that means. Now you know exactly who you need to be talking to. You know exactly what they value. You know exactly what would be important to them when they're going on a trip that you're going to be planning for them. It's like, I see jazz hands, I see sparkles and glitter and everywhere. The more that you're able to hone in on who exactly, either who you work for or the types of trips that you plan, you're able to know exactly what those people need to know about. Like, I have so many ideas that I don't even have on social media. Part of me is like, I should just post multiple times a day. And I'm like, no, I don't really want to do that. Because I also know that I feel like at one point there's going to be like a drought of ideas. Like, I'm going to get writer's block or something similar to a certain point that I'm going to be like, I don't know what else to post here. So I want to elongate the timeliness of certain things. I also am doing this in a way because I've been talking a lot about multi-channel marketing, and the search engines are picking up on social media content. They've been doing this for a while now. And also Google is telling this to bloggers. It recently had a blogger summit. I think there were like 7 people that were there. One of the people has been like very gracious and generous to share what Google said that you need to be doing to get found on the internet nowadays. And it's a combination of things. It's not just one thing anymore. And part of that combination is social media marketing. Can you have an active business if you're not marketing highly on social media? Yes, you certainly can. You don't even have to listen to this episode and you can be successful in here. But if you are wanting to market using digital means, you've got to be active somewhere. I'm not saying everywhere. You just got to be active somewhere on the social medias. And being comfortable that you are a bad booty. I'm pausing because I also want you to hone in on that. Like, stand up and be, if it's safe for you to do this. I don't want you to do this if you're driving, but you need to go, I am a bad booty. I know everything about this type of travel. Even if you don't, you know everything. And my audience needs to hear more about it. I feel like it's the audacity, that audacious feeling, that brave, bold feeling. We need to bring that out, and you need to bring that into your social media content. You need to be the expert. Woo, dropping pins here. Even if you don't think you're the expert, you need to act like the expert on social media. And you need to repeat what you're saying multiple times in multiple different ways, because that kind of goes in with consistency. The only way that this is going to work is if people know exactly what you need to be found for. So if you've been scattered, you've been talking about ocean cruises, river cruising, mass market, premium, you're muddying the water. Like, you need to hone in on something and hone in on it well. Is it a brand? Because I know some people who've been very successful just marketing a brand, even though like that's not my favorite thing. We want to market you as your business. But then I think of it strategically. If you're marketing a certain brand and they give you a co-branded website, especially if you're making lots of like blogging content for it, you could be making like a lot of passive income from it. That's probably another episode. We're not going to think about that right now. But I want you to hone in on the expertise. Repeat everything that don't just say like cruises are the best thing, cruises are the best thing, cruises are the best thing. Even though I think that is kind of a trend right now to repeat certain things. But to repeat the things that you want to be known for in your travel agency, in your travel business. You also need to make sure that you're leading people to the next thing. So that's what I'm testing out a lot with my content now, is that I don't necessarily want to be outright selling, but I want to be giving you service and then saying, hey, this is probably the next step that you need to take in your journey to solve this problem. And that's what you need to do with your own content too. We're thinking sales funnel now. You have to lead people to the next thing. Being really specific with Instagram, because that's the platform where I'm going to be kind of testing and tweaking lots of things. Reels and carousels are gold. They are the number one thing. Like, could I see a static post doing decently? I guess it would have to like really stand out. And actually, I think I am going to be doing a static post. It might be a carousel. But if you're not spending some time making reels, making carousel posts, it's kind of a lost cause almost, because those are the things that are really engaging. I have even found like more engagement with my carousels than I have in my reels. And I'm like, I didn't want to believe it because I had heard it from a lot of people. But I'm like, I'm seeing the numbers. I'm seeing the data. And the way that I'm changing my content too, it's gotten so much more engagement than I've ever had. Maybe not ever, but than I've had in a really, really long time. And I don't have a ginormous account. I have over 1,000 followers, which woohoo, finally got to like 1,000. So super excited. Thank you for anybody who's been following me. Also, you're in for a real treat because I'm about to be like Rita Unfiltered on Instagram. So again, if cruise marketing is your thing, you might want to be following me on Instagram to get more, not only advice or inspiration, but also practical tips. And that is something that I've been noticing. So yesterday I had just seen something on Instagram. It was a thread. And I was like, this is exactly how I feel about travel agency marketing when I see this. And this is a realtor. The thread starts, "Dear realtor, your Instagram is not a billboard." And I was like, oh, I think that person's talking to me because that's how I've been treating my Instagram. And no, I don't want to see your 3-bed, 2-bath again. Here's what to post instead. 1, buyer/seller fear antidotes. And yes, this is made for realtors, but I also see this like you are going to be able to use this as a travel advisor as well. Especially when we're talking about cruise marketing and selling cruises, it is still a type of travel that not a lot of people do. Most people book a hotel, go into the hotel, visit parks, visit theme parks, whatever. That's the standard. That's the type of travel most people know how to do. Now you're telling people to board a ship, and on that ship, they're going to be transported to different islands, to different countries. What? Like, you need to, there's a lot of dispelling. Again, you might think that cruises is something that's like obvious. I mean, it's obvious to us Floridians because it's an easy thing for us to do, but there's so many people across the country that have no idea. They probably don't even know that cruising even exists as a thing. They probably have seen like some of the commercials on TV, but then, there's also these negative Nancy's, these negative voices that are like, cruising is bad for XYZ. So how do you combat those? And it's not just cruising, it can be whatever. So I love that idea of posting about buyer and seller fears and antidotes to those fears. Number 2, this goes in with being specific. Real stories is way better than fake polish. And that is what I have been seeing. Like, if I scroll my feed, not everybody, but if I scroll my feed, actually there's one travel advisor that I'm like, you are really great at the real stuff. There's other travel advisors, you're posting safe stuff, Safe stuff equivalates to fake polish. Not saying that you're not real, your experiences aren't real, just saying that you are not yet in the confident zone where you are able to bear it. Bear yourself. Be open to bearing your real life situations, what actually happened to you. You're being a little bit polished and buttoned up, and that does not work on social media. If you've been like, why isn't anything converting? This is probably why. Because you are playing it too safe. I really love this one, and I think that this could work for, especially if you are a cruise advisor. Number 3, home of the week with emotional angles. Maybe this is cruise of the week. Maybe this is city of the week, destination of the week, African experience of the week, whatever it might be that you could think that you can like get traction with. This positions you as an expert. It says to do this with emotional angles. So this helps to position yourself as an expert because, one, you know the insides and outs of these destinations. 2, because you know your buyer so well, you're going to be able to relate why they would want to visit this itinerary, visit this location, do this experience. You know exactly why, and so you have to share that exact why and match it. You're closing the gap just a little bit that they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I do need to experience it. But leaving the gap a little bit wide because they still want to work with you. They don't want to do it. It's not necessarily like this one that you would leave the gap a little bit open, but again, lead them to the next step. If you think that this is the exact trip that you need to combat depression, to get back into the workforce, whatever problem thing your client might be dealing with, we've got to do these unique angles. It's not that you're just selling a cruise. What about the cruise speaks to your person? Number 4 is behind the scenes content that builds connection. I think I've talked about this on the podcast too. There's a lady that does like these hide and seek videos. She's a realtor and she's like, bet you can't find me in here. Oh, I'm not even in there. Like, she's just so funny. And like, I need to remember like what her account name is so that I can share that out with her. So what are some like behind the scenes, whether it's like you're going when you're on location, what funny behind the scenes connection builders can you create? Or like what funny behind the scenes, like this is what happened a day in the life as a travel advisor who helps autistic families or who helps something else. Oops, something came on my, okay. Like something came onto my, phone as I'm going through some of these examples and I'm like, I don't know what that is. Anyways. Some behind the scenes chaos that helps to build connection. This is also like why it's helpful to know exactly who your buyer is, because then you can relate to them. And normally you're a type of your buyer, or you know you've worked with your buyer, you're a part of your buyer in some way, like you know who your buyer is, that you can like find things to relate them to. Somebody else added to the conversation and said, let's add also these type things, local insights like hidden gems, school ratings, best coffee spots. I mean, thinking if you are buying a house, these are the types of things that you would want to know. I feel like if I was following a realtor that was giving me this information, they're also going to know lots of information about like what I'm going to be looking for. They're going to know exactly the type of house that I'm going to buy, where I'm going to want to buy it, because they know exactly like what's important to me. Like this is going to help me build the trust in the realtor that I'm going to want to work with that realtor. I'm going to pull the trigger to get the contract with that realtor because they know things that I don't know. And this is where you need to be, like with your buyer and potential buyer. You know these hidden gems. You know the different ratings that there are, the different reputations that these companies have. You also know, if you're doing a lot of FIT, some of the best coffee spots, some of the best tea spots, some of the best sweet spots. What are the spots that your audience is going to want to know about? They talk about doing some this and that polls to boost engagement. I'm like, okay, whatever. Real DMs or FAQs turn into content that I'm seeing like do really, really well. If somebody like sends you a question, being able to answer that question on a reel and putting it out there. Fast tips for first timers or those just browsing. This is a really great one if you do specialize in cruise. Like, what are those things that first time cruisers need to know? What are those things that people who might not be ready to like buy a cruise yet, that they're just browsing around, what do they need to know? He wrapped up with content that sells isn't just pretty, it's personal, practical, and punchy. And I loved those 3 points, because not saying that like you shouldn't also be putting boring stuff up on Instagram, especially since it's so visual. But I don't think that you need to be as elaborate as you think that you need to be. Because really, if you look at the carousels that I've been posting a lot of, I put a picture, I put up the transparency on the picture so that you can read the words, and I put words, sometimes they're centered, sometimes they're to the left, because aligned left people read a lot easier than centered text. And then on the next carousels, I just put text. I put text and ... so that you know that I'm not done talking, or that you know you need to keep like swiping on the carousels or anything like that. So I'm keeping it simple, and it's working out really well for me in terms of people commenting, engaging, talking to me, saving, shares. There was one reel that was shared a lot, so I'm like, oh, I need to make more of this, because those signals, the commenting, the saving, the shares, indicates to the algorithm that more people should be seeing your content. So while I don't want you to be feeding the algorithm that's why I say the algorithm you need to be feeding into is how helpful your content is going to be for your audience. And if you have questions about this, or if you have a social media idea, I don't normally do this. Like, this is more of like one-on-one consulting, but I'm going to put it out there like for this next week. Go ahead, send me an email with an idea, content idea that you have, and I'll go ahead and I'll send you my feedback back to you. So I'll go ahead. I'm happy to do that. Happy to help you out, because I want to make sure that you are also changing things up, doing things differently, and being a little bit confident in doing that as well. What I loved about this is those 3 words: personal, practical, and punchy. Because even like myself, I talked about like the 3 E's: educate, entertain, and educate, entertain, engage, whatever. This feels a little bit more, there's more of a like punch here, especially when we think about punchy. Personal, we talk all about inspirational type things. I think this is also motivational type things to help people get from where they think they have to do, where they think they have to travel, where they think they have to think about things, and get them to the other side. Like, I feel like personal is really being able to share a part of you, being able to share how you did this trip, how you planned your clients to do this trip and why you planned it for them that way. Being able to share like those insights to help people also get into your brain is going to be super helpful. Practical tips. Educate, yes, you're kind of educating them, but giving practical tips, I think that's a better way of looking at it than just educating, because I don't also want you to feel like you're a teacher per se, but you are giving practical tips to your audience. And then punchy is be a little bit cheeky here. Be funny. Share a little bit of insights into your world. Yes, that ties in with personal, but we need to stop being boring on social media, because if you've been like feeling nothing's working on social, that's why. I'm sorry to say it. You're probably being boring on social media. Ooh. I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying this to help you be better. Because that's really me like pouring out all my thoughts. I want to help you be better with your social media. So if you would like to follow me, feel free to go ahead. Follow me on social media if you're not already doing that. Please interact with any of the posts. If you'd like to see other types of posts, again, I think I have like 10 ideas that I still have to write out and create and all that. But I also want to make sure that I'm posting things that are going to be beneficial for your journey. And I will be experimenting and letting you know like the results of the experiment. So you'll be seeing me focus on cruise marketing through July. I'll probably be sneaking in more, but you'll see me like hardcore posting about cruise marketing. So I'm interested, like I can't wait to see what the results are going to be these next 6 weeks, just to be able to share with you like, these are the types of things that worked well. These are the types of things that didn't work well. I'm so excited for actually one of my next carousel posts because it was inspired by something that ChatGPT told me. And then I was like, this would be really great if it was written in the form of a childhood book that many of us know and love. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I might also share like in that caption of that, how you can like prompt ChatGPT so you can make a similar post for your travel agency social media. So stay tuned. There's lots of boiling and building up happening here because everything that's been in my brain that I haven't known exactly how to convey it to, it's coming out. So buckle up. I can't wait. We're all going to be better together. And again, reach out to me if you need any help. I'll talk to you soon, everybody. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.